friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into some of my favorite literary fiction books. Stories that have moved me, challenged me, and honestly stuck with me long after I've turned the last page. Whether you're looking for a quiet, introspective read or a book to completely wreck your emotions in the best way possible, I think you'll find something special here. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's talk about some books. Let's start with Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. This is the German copy of the book. It looks slightly different in English. Just so you know why my book looks different than yours, or the one that you can find maybe. Now, I know that Sally Rooney can be polarizing. The writing style definitely isn't for everyone. Either you love it or it just doesn't work for you at all. But hear me out. I love this so much, and I know that this is not her most popular book. That is probably normal people, I would say. But this one just did something special for me personally. Because this to me isn't just another millennial love story. It is about connection in a world where everything feels a bit off kilter. And I think it has some great introspective elements to it. This book follows Alice, a novelist, while grappling with fame and burnout, and her best friend Eileen, who's stuck in a low-paying job and with a crush on her childhood friend that just doesn't seem to work out right. The two women communicate mainly through emails, which are so raw and honest, and it really felt like a conversation that two friends would have. It's basically a deep dive into someone's deepest thoughts. And through these letters, Rooney dives into some very existential questions. For example, what does it mean to create beauty in a world that is so full of chaos? And also, how do we find meaning in relationships when everything feels so fragmented? What I really like about this book is that Rooney really captures these in-between moments. It's not about this great storyline that we're following. It's not plot-driven. It is very character-centered. And therefore, we have a lot of quiet reflections and you can read between the lines. There are so many awkward conversations and a lot of mundane detail that probably is what throws a lot of people off, but I feel like it makes the story more profound to me. If you're someone who really enjoys character-driven stories that explore love and relationships and art and friendship in all their messy glory, then this one's for you. What really made this book stand out to me compared to her others, why I connected to it more, was that it is also about coming back to this one person every single time. Even though you've been in relationships and you've dated other people and the other person has done that too, and you just have this deep connection, you know each other so well because you've known each other for such a long time that you always come back to each other. Then again, being afraid to take that leap and find the courage to really call it what it is, and finally committing to the idea of a relationship. And my friend who also read this book said that she found that really annoying, so I guess it can go both ways, but for me it really hit the nail on the head. So that's why I really love this one, and I'm also really looking forward to reading more Sally Rooney books in the future. Next up is All the Lovers in the Night by Mieko Kawakami. This book, it just broke me in the most delicate way. This is a Japanese novel about Fuyuko, a proofreader in her 30s who lives a very lonely life. She is very isolated from everyone, her co-workers, and she doesn't really have friends. And she really starts questioning this way of existing after an unexpected encounter with a kind, gentle man named Mitsutsuka. But what really made this book stand out to me was that it doesn't romanticize this loneliness that really makes the book so beautiful and also painful to me, because it just sits with it, it lets you experience it, lets you feel it as well in every nuance. Kawakami really has a way of making the smallest observation feel so monumental, And this book really is very quiet and very reflective. And it deals with a lot of hard-hitting topics, but not in a very dramatic way. It still stays in this quiet, contemplative way of describing things, and it really captures, the writing style really captures the inner world of the protagonist really well. And the whole writing style is really what makes this book so special as well. Just the way that Kawakami describes light, it is so powerful, how it changes with the time of day and how it reflects Fuyuko's internal world. That is just pure poetry to me. This book really made me reflect on my own life as well. If you have ever felt like you've been adrift, or you're just watching life happening around you without really fully participating, I think this book is really good to reflect on that. And it kind of feels like you have a friend sitting by your side who tells you, it's okay, we all feel this sometimes, it will be fine. But I still wanted to mention that I think there are scenes in this book that can be triggering to some. So if you think that could be you, I would definitely check out the trigger warnings before reading this, because there are none in the book and I would have expected there to be. Because when she meets this man and she kind of changes her view on the world, there are a lot of painful memories that resurface from her past that made her feel the way that she's feeling now, and that also led to her lifestyle and why she now decided to live her life in this loneliness as well. At first, when I picked this up, I thought this might be a romance and that there was going to be this huge love story in it, because it's described like that, with her meeting this man and it changes her life. But in the end, I was really glad that it wasn't a romance. So, because everything else that happened in this book was just so much more important and made this one of my favorite literary fiction books. And also, if you have ever felt a sense of apathy and not being connected to your own emotions in situations where you should really be furious, then I think this can be kind of healing as well. At least to me, it was, in a sense. Okay, let's talk about Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellos. If you are into stories about flawed, messy characters who make questionable decisions, this might be for you. This book follows Cleo, a British artist in her 20s, and Frank, a much older ad executive, who impulsively get married after a whirlwind romance in New York City. And from there, the story just spirals into the highs and the lows of their relationship. And it pulls no punches. It's not just about Cleo and Frank though. It's much more about their friends as well, and about their relationships with other people and how that also impacts their relationship. For example, with their friends, their co-workers, their family, all of these things. And this book just gives us these deeply intimate glimpses of their lives that don't all get resolved, but that are all very interesting to read about. What I love about this book is how it captures the bittersweetness of human connection. Mellos writes about love in a way that is so raw and so authentic. It's not neat or tidy or follows any set plan. And that it is good for a while doesn't mean that it's good for a long time. This book is very, very messy, and there are so many things in this relationship that are really fucked up and that you wouldn't want in a real life relationship, but that unfortunately happen, even though some of these situations I hope never happen to anyone. But it also is funny and tender, and overall we have this underlying sense of hope and of dealing with your problems and actually addressing them. And what I personally really liked about this is that it shows that love just can't heal all of your problems, and if two people get into a relationship and they both have their own problems that they don't solve, then a relationship won't fix them either, which is something that is probably my biggest complaint about contemporary romance, that often relationships are treated as therapy or as a fix for something that is broken, which it just doesn't work that way. And this book really captures that. And if you've ever been fascinated by the way that people's stories intertwine and how people's lives intersect and collide for a short time or a long time, this book will keep you turning the pages. We have another Irish writer in this, Naoise Dolan, and I really enjoyed her book, The Happy Couple. This book also takes a razor-sharp look at modern relationships and what it really means to be happy. The story revolves around Luke and Celine, a couple that really seems to have it all together while they are preparing for their wedding. But as you might guess, things aren't as perfect as they seem. Dolan alternates between many different points of views in this book, Luke, Celine, and also their friends, creating a really rich tapestry of voices that reveal just how complicated and complex love and friendships can be. What, in my opinion, is really brilliant about this book is Dolan's wit. This book is so funny at times, while also being sharp and unflinchingly honest. She explores themes of commitment, betrayal, and self-discovery in a way that feels really relatable. What I also really liked about this book is that you can really see how reading from different perspectives changes your view on the whole story that's being told and how everybody is acting right on their own accord. But to other people, it might seem like they're the villain in a story. And I just thought that was so interesting. And I also really enjoyed that almost all of the characters in this book are queer, but it is not addressed as something that needs to be talked about. It's just taken as a given. And I think more books should be written like that. And where I really saw myself in this book a bit were the people-pleasing aspects in some of the characters that then from an outside point of view just got so annoying, and I really was like, oh my god, that's how it feels to experience that from the other point of view. That's very interesting, because when you are a people-pleasing person, you often think that you're just trying to do the best for everyone. But I recently read that somewhere, that you're also not being honest to people, and that's definitely not always the best for everyone. So I think if you're a people pleaser, this book can make you really reflect on that as well. And this is definitely one of the books that can make you laugh. It can also make you cry, and it really makes you reflect on everything that you know about relationships. And finally, we have The Forest of Wool and Steel by Natsume Ashita. This book is a quiet masterpiece. It's about a young piano tuner called Tomura who discovers his passion for tuning pianos after hearing a mesmerizing performance at his high school. What follows is a journey of self-discovery, dedication, and the search of beauty in the everyday. The book is really meditative in its tone, slow and gentle, kind of like a piece of classical music that unfurls over time. And the way Miyashita writes about sound, how it travels, how it carries emotion, and how it connects us to the world is absolutely breathtaking. This book really made me want to pick up an instrument again and start playing music again, which I'm really grateful for, because I picked up playing the piano again after reading this book. And as you can probably tell by now, by my taste of books, this isn't a plot-driven book, but I also wouldn't say it's character-driven. It really is more about atmosphere and introspection. It's really for anyone who's ever been moved by art or by music, and who's maybe struggling to find a place in this world. Reading this book to me felt like sitting wrapped in a cozy blanket, and when you finish it, you just want to sit in silence and think. So there you have it, 5 of my favorite literary fiction books. I hope at least one of those caught your eye, and if you've read any of these, I'd be thrilled to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more bookish content. I'm doing bookmas right now, so there's going to be a lot more videos out in the next few days. Until next time, happy reading! Bye!